The night my parents handed my childhood home to my brother, they made me sit at the dinner table and watch. My mother slid the envelope across to him like it was some kind of royal ceremony. "Daniel deserves this," she said. "He's always been the responsible one." Responsible. That was funny, considering I was the one who paid the property taxes for 3 years. They thought humiliating me in my own house would finally put me in my place. What they didn't know, the deed they were celebrating, wasn't the real one. And I had no intention of correcting them. Not until it hurt. I grew up in a house where love had conditions. My older brother Daniel was the golden child. Straight A's. Varsity athlete. Mom's pride. Dad's legacy. I was the afterthought. The difficult one. The dramatic one. The one who apparently never did enough. When I was 22, my parents hit financial trouble. Bad investments. Credit card debt. A second mortgage they couldn't manage. Guess who they came to? Me. Not Daniel. Daniel was finding himself in another state, hopping between jobs and girlfriends. I had just landed a stable accounting job. I was careful with money. Quietly ambitious. I didn't talk about my salary, but they found out. Dad called me one evening, his voice heavy. "We might lose the house." That house was the only stable thing from my childhood. The only place that felt halfway safe. So I helped. At first, it was small. Covering utilities. Paying off overdue property taxes. Then it became monthly transfers. Thousands. I told myself it was temporary. It wasn't. For 3 years, I funneled nearly half my income into that house. My parents promised me something every time. "This will be yours one day. You're the only one responsible enough. We'll make it right." I didn't get it in writing. That was my first mistake. Meanwhile, Daniel reappeared whenever it was convenient. Holidays. Birthdays. Moments that required applause. And every time he showed up, my parents lit up like Christmas morning. "You know," Mom would say loudly, "Daniel's thinking about settling down. Maybe raising kids here someday." Here. In the house I was saving. I swallowed it. Every time. Then came the dinner. Mom insisted it was just family. She made my favorite lasagna, which should have been my warning sign. Halfway through dessert, Dad cleared his throat. "We have an announcement." Mom reached under the table and pulled out a large envelope. She handed it to Daniel. "It's time," she said, beaming. "This house should go to the child who will carry on the family." My ears rang. Daniel opened the envelope slowly, dramatically. Inside was a notarized transfer document. They had signed the house over to him. Just like that. 3 years of my money. 3 years of promises. Gone in one smug little envelope. I laughed. I actually laughed. "You're joking," I said. Dad's face hardened. "Don't start." Mom crossed her arms. "Daniel has a future. You're independent. You don't need help." I don't need help. After I kept them from foreclosure. After I drained my savings. Daniel didn't even look at me. He just smirked. "Guess I'm the homeowner now." That's when something inside me stopped hurting. And started calculating. Because what none of them realized, what they never bothered to check, was that during those 3 years, while I was helping, I had done something else. Something very quiet. Very legal. And very permanent. They thought they handed Daniel the house. They had no idea they'd just signed paperwork that would destroy them instead. Here's what my parents never understood about me. They thought I was emotional. I was observant. 3 years earlier, when they were drowning in debt, I didn't just send money. I hired a real estate attorney. Quietly. The house was already on the brink of foreclosure. The bank didn't care about family drama. They cared about numbers. So I made them a proposal. I paid off the delinquent taxes directly to the county, in my name. Then I negotiated with the bank to purchase the outstanding mortgage note at a discount through a legal transfer. It cost me most of my savings. But it made me something very specific. The lien holder. My parents thought they were simply catching up. They never realized the debt was no longer owed to the bank. It was owed to me. And every month they transferred house payments back to the mortgage? They were paying me. Through a servicing agreement my attorney structured perfectly legally. I never changed the title. I didn't need to. Control isn't always about the name on the deed. It's about who holds the leverage. Fast forward to that smug little dinner. They had transferred the title to Daniel. Without satisfying the lien. Without consulting an attorney. Without reading the fine print. I let them celebrate. I even hugged Daniel. "Congratulations," I said. Then I went home and made one phone call. The next month, I stopped accepting partial payments. I demanded the full outstanding balance, including accumulated interest, under the terms of the note. They ignored the first notice. They panicked at the second. By the third certified letter, Dad was calling me non-stop. "What is this?" he demanded. "It's a demand for repayment," I said calmly. "You're in default." Mom got on the phone screaming. "You wouldn't do this to your own family." I let the silence stretch. "You already did it to me." Daniel called last. His confidence was gone. "You're bluffing." "I'm not." 2 months later, I initiated foreclosure proceedings. Completely legal. Completely documented. At the hearing, Daniel finally understood. You can own a house. But if you don't own it free and clear, you don't own anything. The judge didn't care about golden child speeches. He cared about contracts. And the contract was airtight. They had 90 days. They couldn't refinance. Their credit was wrecked. They couldn't sue. Every payment trail led back to my legally purchased note. So I waited. On the 91st day, the house went to auction. And I bought it. Again. This time, clean. No liens. No shared memories. No conditions. They had to vacate within 30 days. Daniel moved into a cramped apartment. My parents downsized to a rental across town. The neighbors whispered. The legacy evaporated. I never raised my voice. I never insulted them. I simply enforced the agreement they were too arrogant to read. A week after they moved out, Mom showed up at the house while I was changing the locks. "How could you be so cruel?" she asked, tears running down her face. I looked at the front porch, the one I used to sit on after school, feeling invisible. "I learned from you," I said. Then I handed her a small envelope. Inside was a cashier's check. The exact amount I had originally contributed to save them. No interest. No bonus. Just the principal. "You said I didn't need help," I reminded her. "You were right." I closed the door. I renovated the house. Rented it out. It pays me every month now. And every time I drive past my parents' rental, I remember that dinner. The smirk. The envelope. They thought they handed my future to Daniel. They didn't realize I already owned the foundation. They wanted me to feel small. Instead, I became the bank. And banks don't forgive. They collect. And if there's one thing I learned, never beg for a seat at a table you secretly paid for. Sometimes the only closure you get is the sound of the door locking behind you. If you've ever been the responsible one who got betrayed anyway, don't forget this. Keep your receipts. Stay quiet. And when the time comes, collect. If this story hit a little too close to home, you already know what to do.